Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Owner's Box. I'm Billy Koch, founder and managing partner of Little Red Feather Racing Club, along with the great Michelle Yu. Michelle, it's very dark on your screen right now.
I
I don't
know.
know
I'm
why.
sorry. I'm sorry.
And in between us is who I'm nicknaming you the genius, Phil Shelton from TaylorMade and Medallion Racing. Phil, welcome to the show. Can you hear us? Oh, it's a pause.
Yeah, hold on one second. It's
Oh,
it's pausing. Hold on.
oh,
Let
it
me
must be
connect.
that
Try to connect to Wi-Fi and see if it's better.
tailor-made conference room not really working out. But here's the thing: Michelle has to go away next week, so we wanted to do this. Maybe you should go to the two shot while Phil joins back in. I don't know. This is a typical owner's box show.
I'll just leave it black. You just say
Just leave
black.
it black. I am in a suite at Del Mar. It is really foggy this morning. Um, and so Michelle has to go out of town next week. So we decided to do this on Sunday morning because we had to have Phil on because
Yes, we did.
Phil had one of the greatest weekends you could possibly have, not only as an owner, but as a gambler as well. We're going to talk to him about the Breeders' Cup, Sci-Fair,
The
Valentina. Am I
Eclipse
saying that right?
Awards.
The Lush Lips, who
Yeah.
won the grade one a couple of weeks ago at Keeneland. And then the guy goes out and wins 100 and some odd $1,000 in the BCBC. Phil, I mean, how are you feeling right now? Like, you're not even smiling.
The great thing about this business is, I was on a red-eye flight Saturday night to come back for facing Tipton and then on to Keeneland, and we still got a couple more days of the Keeneland auction at Horse Racing 8. So people were like, "You're going to celebrate?" I said, "I'll celebrate in a few weeks when everything's over and take a deep breath." And then we still have Porta Fortuna to sell the first week of December at Tattersall. So really,
Oh,
I'll
is that
take a
is that
big
the
deep
scepter
breath.
sale?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So and we have three other horses. So yeah, so we'll have by like about December 5th, I get back into America, and then it will be a week of celebration with me and all my friends and family. So it's just been like you said,
It
it
is.
doesn't quite feel real when you go back and look about it.
It is interesting because we talk about this all the time. This game is a roller coaster, and you're gonna have highs and lows. Because I think I hung out with you like this summer, and you were like down. You were like, yeah, we
Yeah.
got Lush Lips second in the Del Mar Oaks. Kind of had a rough trip that day. Didn't have really much going on, and then all of a sudden, boom! And in it, 2-year-olds are hope. That's what I always call them. They are
Yeah.
hope. And Sci-Fair, obviously, let's talk about her first. Were you part of the group that originally owned her, or did you buy her after her maiden win?
No, so we bought in after a maiden win, and really, that's not something we do very much. Like a lot of times, I mean, we'll buy, we own a Euro 2-year-old with Billy, and
Yeah.
we'll buy some Euros or some horses a little bit. I was cheaper is not the right word, but just lower from a lower cost perspective. Very rarely do we rear back and buy one um, at a higher level, but the goal was we felt like she could be a Breeders' Cup type horse, and then obviously, that's what worked out. So we bought her after her first race. Um, and then of course we go right in about that same time Billy is when she gets beat at Saratoga, which is probably about the same time I'm talking to you. She's 3 to 4 or
Right.
the weird New York odds. And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, we can't buy a winner."
Yeah,
And
it was rough. You were going through a rough, but
there
we
goes the
all
chip.
have them. We all have them. Uh-oh. We lost Phil. Phil?
Sorry, but hold on one
That's
second.
okay.
I'm just gonna try to disconnect from
Well,
Wi-Fi.
anyway, the interesting thing, and what Phil's talking about is that like we all go through these dry spells. Michelle, you've had them. Anybody in the business has had them. And to get affiliate, quick story while Phil's reconnecting, and I don't know if he can hear me. I bid on
I can hear you. I
Sci-Fair.
can hear you
I,
now.
I
I'm
bid
gonna.
on Sci-Fair. I loved that filly. She was with Niall Brennan, and she vetted perfectly. And we went up to like, I think we went up to like 160 or 170 and kind of stopped and thought maybe, and she RNA'd. And I went back to the barn literally like 10 minutes later to
Yeah.
possibly make an offer, and she was already sold. And I
Mm,
was like, oh shit. But the funny thing is, we talk about like the paths, right? Can you imagine if
Yeah.
we bought her, she might not have made the Breeders' Cup because even with like a horse like Later Than Planned that won the Speakeasy, which was the prep for the Breeders' Cup, we didn't necessarily get in right away. Isn't it? It's amazing that the
Yeah.
turn of events just the fact that she went back east and could run in those races kind of paved the way for the Breeders' Cup. How confident when you came to California with Sci-Fair? How confident were you in that race?
If she wasn't right there, I was going to be pretty disappointed. I talked to you at the post position draw, and I just
Yeah.
thought, you know what, on sheets, all three of her races were faster than anything else in the field. Like nobody had run. I think one horse,
Yep.
Intricate Spirit, had run an 11, and we'd run 3 11s. And what I just felt like is she's a horse that she's not overly big. That she's just a horse that's going to love 5/8 at Del Mar. Like she got a massive kick. She's got plenty of speed to get in a good position.
Yep.
I probably didn't envision us being as close as we were to the pace. But once she broke good, I put her in a spot. But I mean, I was very confident that we were going to run huge, and I thought they were going to have to absolutely run lights out to beat us. The Euro fillies come over. I think what you find is like the Euros won it last year at Del Mar.
Mhm.
And they've run it at Keeneland, but it's typically not their best horse that
Yeah.
comes over. That's like, True Love's this dominant. She's kind of a bully. I'm sure Michelle loved her in the paddock. I mean, physically,
Oh,
she's
she
like
was
some specimen.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw her at Ascot. She looked like a 3-year-old relative to all the other horses, but she's kind of a horse that she sits right there, bullies. I think Euros do not win with that trip.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
felt like, Brussels, Aspect Island, they came from off. Last year was Magnum Force. They basically settle, they make one run.
And
That's the way they
right.
can win.
I talked to the rider, and the rider was like, "No, we're gonna try to go for the front." And like, California speed is so.
Yeah.
Like, do you understand? California speed is so much
Yeah.
better. It's like, yeah, we're fast. It's gonna be fine. I was like,
It's
okay.
different. It's different. So
Yeah. And I
you
just-
win that race. You win that race, and then like literally an hour later, here comes this massive long shot. Am I saying her name right? Valentina? Is that right? Am I saying
Valentina,
that?
yeah.
Valentina with Donica O'Brien, and this was a horse that you now tell us about the process for purchasing this filly.
So this one's even crazier. We have a yearling partnership in Europe. That's what Lush Lips is part of, and we buy like 5 yearlings every year. So Donica and Mark McStay, who I work with in Europe, they were like, we really like this filly. We've had some luck with 10 Sovereigns, the sire, but he probably wouldn't be a massively commercial stallion, although he's had 3 Grade 1 winners in the U.S. this year. So I mean, he's done a lot better than plenty of stallions. And I just said, you know what, my group's not fully funded yet. I'm not really ready. I said, why don't we send it to Steve Weston, who's one of my biggest outside partners.
Yeah.
He likes the sire. And so he bought her for 100,000 euros. Him and Dean Reeves did a swap. Dean bought a No Nay Never at Tats, and they basically traded 50%. And all year, Steve's like, you've got to buy into this filly. I think a lot of times, because when he has outside partners, he wants me to manage it. And just reduce his amount of workload. And he's, so we just bought into her like 3 weeks ago. He ended up doing it. And I was like, well, we bought another filly for Ascot. I obviously was heavily involved with Valentina, just helping Steve figure out what the right spots are, talking to Donica. And we were buying another filly that had won a maiden in Ireland. I'd sent it out to all my partners and said, hey, we're going to cut this filly up. And he said, I love this presentation you put together. He said, could you sell half of Valentina? And I said, we got to figure out a price and everything else that makes it easier for me to do.
Yeah.
And once we had a price, I was like, all right, perfect. I can absolutely do this. I'll take 25 or I think we took 35%. And then one of my partners jumped in for 15. So, obviously it was a huge, him and Dean were like, why did we do this? But
hey,
you've been in the game. Both of you guys have been in it long enough. Yeah, it
doesn't always work
there
out.
are plenty of times you do that and you're like, God, yeah. This time it did. And I think once Precise came out, I've been telling my guys the whole time. I said,
stop, Phil. I was gonna actually ask you. I wanted to see your facial expression when you heard that Precise was out of the race.
I thought we were going to massively outrun our odds with Precise in the race.
Okay.
And when she came out,
so when she came out, Phil was actually pissed because he was going to be totally
going to be even a bigger price.
Valentina, and I was like, damn it.
No, I wasn't. No, believe me, 20-1 was plenty. What I thought was her last race in Europe, and again, had this intimate knowledge of her all year. But her last race in Europe, they listed as good in the racing form. In no way, shape, or form was it
It
good
was a
ground. It was like
bog.
yielding ground. It
Yeah.
poured rain. Donica had another colt that they had really high expectations of that didn't run any good on the same card, and I think that horse actually handles soft. But 10 Sovereigns, generally, they want quick ground.
Hmm.
And so I said, you know what? If you just draw a line through that race, her race before she gets beat a nose by a filly in France, that's the best 2-year-old French filly. You know, she came back, won a grade 2, ran second in the Boussac on Art Day.
Wow.
The third place finisher in that race, the form was really good. And then she ran third at Ascot behind Venetian Sun, who beat Stade in a grade 1 race in France, where she completely missed the break.
Wow.
So I just felt like once Precise came out, I said, "Who am I scared of?" You know, my Queen of Hawaii, she's a grade 3 winner. She's nice. Pacific Mission was nice. A bunch of
Yeah.
the the horses in America, I
Just
think have just
average.
proven that they're
Yeah.
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 I wasn't afraid of any of them, and so I just thought we've got as good a shot in here as anything if we can get the right trip. And then O'Sheen put on a clinic on how you ride
Yeah.
the Del Mar grass course.
Was it hard? Like you had just like come off this massive high, and then all of a sudden you have to go back to that massive high, like emotionally, like what? And meanwhile, I'm assuming you're betting in the BCBC on both of those horses, so you're
Yeah.
crushing
Did you bet
there.
both of them?
Uh-oh.
So I it cut out for a second. I think you guys were asking if I bet both of them in the BCBC. So I bet Sci-Fair in the BCBC, and I played some doubles, which I didn't hit with Super Corridora. And I didn't bet Valentina in the BCBC only
Oh,
because it was like this whirlwind. It was this whirlwind thing where
right.
like we're in the paddock, then we're in the winter circle, then we're in the
We're
champagne
back
room,
in the
then we're
paddock.
straight back to the paddock.
Oh my
Then
God.
we're and we had a big group of partners there. So I'm in the BCBC, but I mean, I hate saying that's a secondary thing. My main job is managing Medallion and taking care of all my
Yeah.
partners. So once we were in the champagne room, nobody even knew in the champagne room. We didn't even know the juvenile fillies had gone off. You know, they're showing our
Wow.
race
Wow.
Yeah,
replay. They've
yeah,
got the
yeah.
juvenile fillies on like one
Oh,
TV off to the side and then one on the thing. And they got Frank Miramati in there. They're doing speeches. Everybody's getting pictures. So we didn't even have a great idea the juvenile fillies had even run.
Oh my
And
God.
then once I realized they'd run, I was like, oh, our race is in 24 minutes. Like, I got to get everybody out in the paddock. Then my phone wasn't working great. I was betting um, through Express Bet just because I wanted to have the capability of not being tied to having to bet at a machine. But
yeah.
I just didn't even have time to do it and like focus. And so, luckily, I thought she had a great shot. Again, just relative to who was in the field, I didn't think we should be 5-1 or anything, but I said, out of everybody in here, we got as good a shot of anything.
That's amazing.
That's
So
crazy.
so let's go BCBC now because you're already like you're at a massive high. Now you look down on Friday and you've got a pretty sizable bankroll, I imagine, heading into Saturday. What were your thoughts going into Saturday? Did you have a plan? I've been in the BCBC now twice. It's very difficult. You want to just kind of save some bullets for that last race. What was your plan heading into Saturday?
So
Uh-oh. We
Oh
froze again.
no.
Yeah,
He
we
doesn't
froze.
he doesn't want to tell his plan.
No, he doesn't want to tell his
That's he's
secrets,
secret
but
about it.
that's all
Could
right.
you imagine though going from Breeders' Cup win to like
No,
you can't even
I,
watch the next race to the next Breeders' Cup win?
I was excited. Um I was excited that we ran fifth. Like I was over the moon about Gold Phoenix running fifth. This guy comes out with 2 winners on Friday. All right, Phil. So
Right.
tell us you're back. Tell us your strategy on
sorry, yeah.
Saturday.
So you always think the BCBC is so tough, and I probably don't bet it great anyway. Like I'll be the first to say I'm not I'm not the world's best
How
tournament player
how
because the
many times
reality
have
is the
you
money's
played the
real to me.
BCBC?
3 or 4.
Okay.
I've qualified a bunch of times, so like when you get in on a free one, but I'm like
Mhm.
for me, if I can win 20 grand, 20 grand is, I mean that's
Yeah,
real money. So
Yeah.
and let
I'm
let
not
me
one of these
stop you
guys that's
there.
like,
Yeah, let me stop you there because going into the BCBC, you have to either like Phil just made a comment that it's real money. I play with a group and we know we're trying to win. So either we're going to be up there at the
yeah,
end
yeah.
or we're going to be at zero. For Phil, with all due respect, and you just admitted it, you're like, God, if I could get to $30,000, $40,000. That's real money. I'm not betting a $37,000 exacta in the last race to try to win this thing, right? So give us a little bit of your
Yeah,
Saturday
and so
play.
this year, yeah, and so this year was a little bit different. So we actually had a small group, and we
Oh,
have we have
good.
a bigger pool of money that we're betting cash. We're playing pick sixes, we're playing
Yep.
pick fives, and just the BCBC is a part of it because again, if you're going to bet that amount of money and you get a right opinion, then we won 115 grand in purse money or prize money we weren't going to win.
Yep.
So, but I'm like it's just whatever I want to do. And so the problem was we didn't bet Valentino, which was a big chance to get a big score. But my two biggest opinions were Splendora and Notable Speech.
Perfect.
But I
I
knew we
love
were going to be
Notable
betting all these
Speech.
picks. I knew we were going to be betting these pick sixes. And so I just limped in with Splendora, which was part of the problem too was all the scratches. It
Yeah.
just killed the price. I thought I might be getting 6-1. I'm getting 3-1. Do I want to bet? I think we had 14 grand, 13 grand, something like that going into Saturday. And so I'm like, do I just want to load up and bet 3 or 4,000, which is probably what I should have done. But I think we bet 500, played a bunch of doubles into like Bucanero Fuerte, AG Bullet, and I can't remember the other
Bucanero
horse was
Forte
the
looked
one.
so good in the freaking paddock.
Yeah.
I used
Oh
him
my
too.
gosh.
Yeah. And but he really is the Euro I don't want because he's kind of up there on the pace. He got plenty of speed, and like every case I made why I shouldn't bet True Love. But Bucanero Forte, to be fair, was a way bigger price.
Yeah.
And so once Splendora won, really the key for me was like, what are we betting? What am I going to bet in pick six tickets?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do I get to Notable Speech with as much money as I can? So we basically just slowly bled betting minimums. Didn't have any luck. We got to Notable Speech with about 10 grand. And I said, all right, this is another. I should have just bet all 10 grand on Notable
Yeah.
Speech, but we bet 5,000 to win on Notable Speech. And my whole thought was I didn't want to play Nisos. We had Majestic Oops in the distaff, which was so I couldn't bet that race.
Oh,
I think I technically
No,
could
you
have
can't
the way the
bet.
rules
Yeah.
are written.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I
weird
thought you just had
because
to
while
single
I
your own
manage,
horse.
well, you can single your own horse, but she was going to be
Okay.
a big price. And so for me, it's weird because I don't actually own, like I would love to say I'm just the manager of Medallion. I'm a tailor-made employee. I don't have any, I have a vested interest for my partners in
Right.
Medallion. And I think you also have to own 25%, which we only own 20%. So I probably could have gotten by with betting somebody else if I wanted to, but I just said I have two races I can skip. I knew I was going to skip the distaff, and I knew I was going to skip Nisos because I just thought, I remember Cody's Wish almost got beat at a really short price.
Yep.
And I think it could have been more beneficial for me potentially had Nisos gotten beat. I know the winner had a big double.
Yeah.
But so we bet Notable Speech. We end up with like 23,000. And really going into the week, I love Jazora, but I didn't want any part of her at 7-2, which
Yeah.
was, I think, morning. I
And
think
she
she was 41
drifts.
favorite.
She drifts.
And then she drifts massively. But then you hear all these interviews with Appleby where he's like, Cinderella's Dream is my best shot.
I know.
And typically,
when
and the thing is, when you listen to his interviews, he basically nails it every year. I mean, he'll just tell
Yeah.
you this horse is my most likely shot.
Yeah.
And his track record's about 90%.
He's pretty good.
And so what I thought was, I've got 22,000. If I can get north of 50 or 55, something like that, I've got a shot to be top 15, get some additional prize money. So I had to figure out, how do I do that? At one point I was talking to somebody, I said, I just bet all of it on Cinderella's Dream,
Wow.
all
Oh my
22,000. But I didn't really like the only thing was Appleby, and all these Euros I talked to, and we do a fair amount of work in Europe. So I talked to a bunch of different people from Europe. They're like Cinderella's Dreams. Everybody said it.
Wow.
But I went back and watched her race last year, and I was like, you know what? Last year she got a dream run up the inside. She's drawn in 9. All the other horses, I said, you know what? And then Jazora is like a massively playable number.
Yeah.
So then I was like, do I just bet it all on Jazora?
Wow.
Which would have won me the contest had I done that.
Oh.
And I said, you know what?
Oh.
And so again, my number was trying to get to 50. So I said, if I take 10 grand and bet it on Jazora, and I thought she might come down more than what she was.
Yeah.
So we bet 10 grand to win on Jazora. And I played a bunch of exactas with Cinderella's Dream over like the 3 or 4 logical horses I felt like could run second, all of which the potential payouts were somewhere between about 55,000 and 80,000. And I said, if
Wow.
Cinderella's Dream is just the goods, but one of the other horses I like runs well, I'm still going to be north of 50. That's still going to probably get me top 15
Yep.
and go from there. Um, and then obviously, Jazora comes out of the pack, and my voice was already gone
Gone.
from Friday. And whatever voice I had, people in our suite were like, "This guy is and a lot of people were in the group
Yeah.
um, that we were betting. I was betting for, so it was just this electric atmosphere where people were like, "Oh my gosh!" Friday was epic. Saturday we ran, I think, fifth or sixth in the Golden Cova. Majestic Oops didn't run any good in the distaff. She probably got too far back. Maybe isn't that good, and maybe doesn't stay a mile and an eighth either. But then it was just this epic end to like a great thing. And then, of course, I know Billy, you and Gary to play a lot of these contest stuff. So then it's like, all right, we know we're going to be at 101,000. Where does that put
That.
us?
Yeah.
And then you're looking at the pound. You're like, from third, we lost. It's easy afterwards. You're like, oh, we bet it all on Jazori would have won. But then it's
Yep.
like the difference between third and fourth is like 50 grand in prize money. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
but so we lose. Third is like $4,000 more than us. But then it's very easy to say, well, seventh was like $4,000 behind us. We could have easily
Yeah.
been seventh,
Right.
and it's just a massive amount of money. So yeah,
I
it's
have a
just, I mean,
question. So, like, because
yeah,
PCPC is live money, which is very different than like the mythical $2 win
Yeah.
plays. How do you
yeah,
reconcile that? Like, yes, I have to make this bet and I want to win, but also it's like, the old adage, like 50 in your pocket and 50 giving away, right? Like, how nerve-wracking is that?
it's pretty nerve wracking. Um, but the way I figured it, like when I took how much money we were going to be betting over the course of the weekend,
Mhm.
we had about 25 grand that we were going to be
Yeah.
betting in pick sixes, again, just in everything. And so I thought at 22 grand, that's what we wanted with, and everybody is very comfortable just saying, hey, if we know, I mean, it's gambling. That's
Right. Yeah.
my dad's
Yeah.
favorite line. If you won every time, they call it giving away money, and they don't call it that. So
When I go to
my
Vegas, if I win $10,
I
I stop
like.
gambling the whole time.
Oh.
Yes, I do.
yeah. And so, for us, like everybody's comfortable just losing. And the last thing I want to do is be like, hey guys, we got back, 80 cents on the dollar and we got
Oh.
scared at the end.
Yeah.
And I have full discretion. It's whatever I want to do.
It's
People just
hard.
defer.
Michelle,
Yeah.
it's hard because and Phil, correct me if I'm wrong. Like Phil is an excellent gambler and he is also excellent at his job. He does an amazing job with Medallion Racing. I am one of his biggest fans. But when you have to make a $10,000 bet or a $15,000 bet and you're not used to it, it's difficult. I've told the story a million times. We bet a $37,000 straight exacta flight line to Taba to win the tournament that year. And Taba gets nailed on the
Yeah.
wire by Olympiad. And I'm telling you, when you punch in a $37,000 exacta and you're used to betting like 100, it is very different.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
We had actually bet. So that year we were in and we had like, I can't remember what we had, 16,000 or something going into the last race. We had done something similar. Um, just trying to, I think we played a massive, like two massive tries, like flight line over, I think Epicenter over two other
Oh,
horses, which obviously didn't hit.
and
But,
Epicenter got hurt.
and that
Yeah.
was even a different, yeah. And it's a different, that was such a different scenario too, because you just felt like fly line,
Yeah. Was a
a
lot.
quote unquote free square. How do you
Yeah.
create the value?
Mhm.
I think the great thing for us was we felt, you know what, we really like Jazora. Like I actually had an opinion.
Yeah.
And the only thing that even keep me from getting really keyed up about her was the price early, which obviously that changed. And so it's this game of like, how do you do it? And I think what I've learned, and like there's a guy, Mark Stanton, in our partnership
Very good.
who
Yep.
has done great at the VCBC. He's been in the top 10. He's a big guy for Karma, which I know
Yep.
Michelle knows, and you guys do more for Karma than anybody.
Yeah.
But he had coached me a lot just over any time I've done the BCBs about how to think about it. And I think the key is we just had a target number of what we were trying to get to. And we had to figure out how do we play our money to try to get to this target number to give ourselves a shot at prize money, whatever. And so that's really the way I thought about it. I said, what is my target number? How do I structure this last 22 grand in money?
It's
But
amazing.
there'd be a bit
Great
of, I
job,
mean,
man.
there
Great,
was definitely
great
some nerves
freaking yeah, great
going
job. Let's
into
go back.
making a $10,000 win bet.
I want to talk about Medallion because you primarily invest in these fillies and then you sell them. I mean, I know Lush Lips sold for a lot of money. Now you'll have some more, and every year it seems like you guys hit with this. Oh,
Oh no.
we lost him again. But my question when he comes back, because it's very difficult in this game when people, I'm going to call it fall in love with these horses, Michelle, when
Yeah.
you have a really nice filly and it's like, when do you, I'm going to ask Phil. Oh, here he comes back. Phil, you guys do a great job and you sell these fillies for a lot of money after they win the graded stakes. But do you have partners? Because I run into this sometimes. Like I'm in this because I love going to the races and watching them win and watching them run.
Yeah.
How do you justify and make those decisions? Because those aren't easy.
It's me. Hi.
Yeah.
I'm the
Yeah.
problem. It's me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very tough. When we had it this year with Lush Lips, or
Yep.
we had it with, but we sold two horses for 5.3 million.
Amazing.
And going into it, I would say every single one of my partners was a reluctant seller.
Really?
So in Lush Lips, it's a great partnership. We partnered with a couple of the guys at Coolmore, Paul Shanahan and MV Magner, and we bought her for 100,000. And they just said,
Wow.
"Hey, she's won this grade one. She's
Crazy.
going to bring a bunch of money. We just want to cash in. Hey, we've won 40 grade ones this year, so we don't have any emotional attachment
Yeah.
to Lush Lips." Where all my guys were like, "Man," and she's in a small partnership. There are only 4 partners in that
Wow.
medallion group, and so my guys are like, "Why do I want to sell my best horse?"
Yeah.
And then we're in this scenario. We're like, all right, now we know what the reserve is going to be. I'm trying to put together a group to possibly stay in up to a certain level.
Mm.
And it is hard, like with vodka,
Yeah.
who knows what Porta Fortuna is going to bring. But
She's
with
gonna bring
vodka,
a lot.
yeah, it'll hopefully, fingers crossed. And so when vodka was going into the sale, I talked to Bill Strauss and Omar Aldabar, a couple of outside partners. But the deal kind of last year was we were going to buy her. We bought her right. She ran second to Breeders'
Yep.
Cup. And the plan when we bought her was always to just trade her. We said, hey, if we were in a scenario and we're going to make 4X, she's gone. Then
Yeah.
she ran second. The Breeders' Cup. Everybody's like, no, we're
No,
not.
no.
Yeah, we're not selling. And so this year I was kind of like, I've got to sell. She's in a 2-year partnership that was in the 3rd year, basically because of Porta Fortuna. Because we decided to keep Porta Fortuna, we said we can't close the partnership. Vodka could be an Oaks horse. We'll keep her. Well, then we head into the sale, and everybody's like, well, gosh, she just ran second in a grade 2 at Keeneland. Why would we sell her?
Yeah.
And then the worst thing I did, Mark Taylor really well, Billy. I think
Of course.
I felt like I was going to get fired Sunday night. I said I won 2 Breeders' Cup races Friday.
Wow.
I've told him we might be keeping this horse, and I said I'm on the chopping block.
Oh my gosh.
And because he's the best. He's the best in the world. He gets out at Phasing Tips, and he's stressed out about everybody's raising their reserve. How are we going to do? And I said, here's the deal, right? At $1.1 million, she's gone.
Yep.
Anything under $1.1 million, we're going to keep her. And he's like, why would you do that? But I said, I've talked to all my partners.
That's the number.
And I just told him, I said, listen, Porta, you're going to get this big return. I said, if we sell vodka for your unit that you put in, which is 50 grand for medallion, you're going to get back like 8 grand if we sell her for $1 million or whatever the number was. And they're like, well, I don't care about the 8,000. I want to have a horse that's going to run in all these big grade ones. And of course, Mark was like, why do he's just stressed and we're going on it. But, I think at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to buy the horses. It's my responsibility to figure out when is the right time to cash out. And, I think the great thing we have a great relationship with Billy, and he knows that. I tell all my partners, if you were doing this to make money, go buy an S&P 500 fund. Do not do this. If you want to do this to have fun and whatever else, and there are going to be cycles where we do make money.
Yeah.
The cycle with Porta Fortuna, they're going to do great. Hopefully this partnership, we have 2 Breeders' Cup winners, they should do great.
Yeah.
But I always tell them, I'm like, the money doesn't matter until you have a horrible cycle. And then people are like, oh gosh, this, I thought I was going to do way better or whatever. And then the money does matter.
Yeah.
So it almost, when we have really good horses, I try to just change the conversation to say, hey, I'm managing this. I tell everybody, so this thing is going to be 0% to -40 over 2 years.
Mhm.
Right.
And sometimes we're going to do better than that. And sometimes we're going to do worse than that. But that's the expectation.
Yep.
And I manage the partnership to try to hit those numbers. And so when I want to sell one, I say, listen, this is the right time to sell. We can get this big premium. And they're like, no, no, no. I said, well, all right, what is your expectation of our
Right.
performance?
Right.
If it's all predicate on the track and you want to put your 50 up and you don't care if you get any of it back, that's great. Though that's almost easier for me to manage for,
Right.
because we just run everything till it's done running. So I think opportunities like that are a really good chance for me to talk to my partners and figure out what do you actually expect and what are your priorities. And when we have 24 partners or whatever, so it's not always the same for all 24, but it really lets me have the conversation, figure out what are we trying to do, how do we accomplish it, and at the end of the day, are your expectations going to be met? And one of the big things, and I tell everybody at TaylorMade this, I tell all my partners, is I want you to feel like whatever I sold you at the beginning and told you we were going to try to do, that's what we're doing.
That's
Mhm.
And
great.
if
Yeah.
we change the expectation or whatever else, that's fine. For the next cycle, maybe we say, hey, we're not selling anything that's any
Right.
good. We are running them till they're done running, or we're changing the narrative. But I try to make it, I'm always trying to make the conversation less about the financial and more about the experience. We've been doing it for 8 or 9 years. And we've had about 325 starters.
Yeah.
Wow.
25% of those are in grade ones.
That's amazing.
65% are in graded stakes. And the stats, we actually just updated the stats after this weekend. And looking back at when we had 100 starters till now, the stats are almost exactly the same.
That's great.
So I know I can deliver this experience. The financial return, you have to have a lot of luck. Sheen Murphy gets stopped on the rail and we've won one Breeders' Cup, not two.
Right. Right.
Everything has to go right. And so I just try to manage to deliver an unbelievable experience. And I think getting the good horses is a great opportunity to educate my partners about why they could bring so much money. I'll tell them, I'm like, we sold a listed stakes winner as a
Yeah.
broodmare prospect for
I
1.6
mean,
million by 1,000 words.
it's
Like, how
incredible.
does that even
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing.
But
And this is all Medallion. I just want to make sure people understand this is Medallion is a part of TaylorMade. Phil runs it. Phil, can anyone get into Medallion, or is it more a private thing? And what's the minimum to get? Is it 25, 50? Is there a minimum?
yeah, so it's 50. One thing we try to figure out, I think it's very similar. Like, you have to be an accredited investor.
Obviously.
And for us, like, the big thing is we don't want hundreds of partners. At least, then we have different partnerships. We have a European yearling partnership.
Yeah.
We'll do like some one-off syndications, and then we have our main product, which we would call like Medallion Flagship. And with that, our mission statement it's an exclusive ownership opportunity at the highest level of thoroughbred racing.
Yep.
Um,
And
and
you've delivered.
obviously, yeah, man,
And you've delivered,
we've
man. Listen, I know we've taken up a lot of your time. It's always a pleasure. This is not your first time on the Owner's Box. Personally, I can tell you, man, I'm so proud of you. Like, what you accomplished last at the Breeders' Cup was absolutely incredible. I can't say enough good words about Medallion and the guys at TaylorMade, and especially Philip. He's very, very knowledgeable, and he is the cutest goddamn kid. Michelle, so I don't know if I told you the story. So Philip bought our book that we did for Karma.
Okay.
it was gifted. It was gifted by Mark Stanton.
It was gifted by
Oh,
Mark
of course it
Stanton
was.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Thank you,
Phil.
Mark.
Where do the horses go after they're done racing? And I go to Churchill one day, and Phil's there with his son, and Phil introduces me, and he says, "Hey, that's the guy that's Silly Billy. That's the guy that's Silly Billy. The
Oh,
horse is named
yeah,
after." The kid looks at me, Michelle. He walks up and just hugs me. Like the
oh,
cutest. I literally start crying. I'm like, what is happening here? And
yeah.
Phil's like, no, he reads it. He reads the book. He loves Silly Billy. So
Yeah,
it was
it's
very
my
cool.
dad's also named Billy, and for a while he's like, "Is
Oh,
this?"
there you
And
go.
my dad is silly, but I said, "No, no, no, it's not named after BB. It's named after Billy." And so when we had been building it up, and I was like, "Oh, Silly Billy's going to be at the races today," and he was loving it. So it's
He's a great kid. Well, we're
Wait,
so happy.
Before
Go
we
ahead.
let Phillip go, Phillip, please, very quick, make your case for Cy-Fair for the Eclipse Award. I love
there you
this.
go.
I love this. I'm a huge vote for turf horses. I think that they get absolutely disgraced at the Eclipse Awards. I always vote for a turf horse over a dirt horse if they've had a better campaign, but please.
I just think I always go back. What is the determining factor? Are you voting for the best resume? Are you voting for the best performance? And the one thing I think nobody should do is just default to the Breeders' Cup Dirt winner. Like that, it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make sense.
I think everybody could agree the 2-year-old Dirt Fillies in the Breeders' Cup was not a great division. And it's not to take anything away from Super Corridora. She ran great.
Yeah.
She got on a speed favoring track and she dictated, and Hector Barrios won the race.
Yep.
But I just hate, like, if you go best resume, you could say Tommy Joe won 2 grade ones. Now, one of them was by DQ. But in my opinion, on championship weekend, if you said who was the best 2-year-old filly, there's no question you could come up with anything other than Cy-Fair. Like,
or
she
Valentina.
beat the boys. Yeah, or well, I didn't want to get out. Valentina did run a faster buyer and
all the races that aren't in the US too. So we have to keep that in mind. It has to be a North American start.
Yeah.
So because of that, Cy-Fair does.
And you might say she had 2 of the most impressive performances, like her running the Algonquin against the boys was lights out. And then the Breeders' Cup against the boys. Like, she's the first grade 1 winning female to beat the boys. I think Twilight Gleaming or one of the Stone Street horses won, but it was just a grade 2. So we beat horses from Europe. We beat the boys. We ran the fastest sheet number of any 2-year-old filly over the weekend. We ran the fastest buyer of any 2-year-old filly. I still don't quite know, like Queen Maxima, who's serious. We beat her by half a second.
Us started. Don't get us started with
and
the
we
buyers.
somehow got a 9-point lower buyer, and we were at, which buyers on about time.
No,
and we
Randy
somehow
Moss.
Phil,
I'll give you Randy.
Wait,
I have more discussions.
She also won at 3 different racetracks as a juvenile, which I think
I
is
have more
impressive.
discussions with Randy Moss about next time you see him on text, I'm like, Randy, this buyer's wrong, and he's on it. If you text Randy Moss and say, how did this happen? He will give you the full explanation of how it happened. They do it by like class, and they look at the other horses in the race and they say, oh, that horse can only run a 65. You can't. And I say, it's supposed to be the number of the race. I get in huge fights with him all the time. So we were
like 3 races apart or 2 races apart, and we ran half a second faster than a series. I mean, Queen Max was probably as good. She's not So Spicy or maybe not AG Bullet, but she's probably the 3rd best female sprinter in the turf sprinter in the country. So I just think if you just figure out, this is what I would just tell the voters: figure out how you determine, and if it's best resume, that's fine. If it's best performance, I don't know how you could come up with anyone other than Cy-Fair. She was a grade 1 winner on the biggest stage against the boys in the most dominant fashion and ran an incredibly fast number. And like I said, what I think at the end of the day, the last thing people should be doing is defaulting to just whoever wins the Breeders' Cup. That makes no sense. If you come up and said, listen, I just love Super Corridora. I think the way she did it and whatever else, and she's I can live with that. But if you just said, well, she won the juvenile fillies dirt race, that just, and the big thing for me was like, what set it off was I started reading these things after the Breeders' Cup, and like Dave Grenick, who I think does a great job. He was like talking about Explorer, and I'm like, Explorer is a grade 2 winner who had every shot to win the grade 1 and didn't. How could you possibly vote? And there's no more grade 1, so it's not like somebody else will be saying, well, if you go win the low sal race, well, that used to be a grade 1, it's not anymore. So
that's right.
The grade 1 winners are settled. And that was my thing, was like, nobody was even talking about it. And I was like, how do you not consider she beat the boys? And again, in the most dominant fashion of any of the 2-year-old fillies that ran. So I think she should be seriously considered. The way the game works, I understand it. And I would say that that's a very small likelihood, but
you're a good politician. You're a good politician. Keep up the good work. Unfortunately, I have to go to Turfworks right now. Phil, you're the man. You're on top of the world right now. Keep it going, man. We'll see you soon. I'll be in Lexington in December. I'll come see you.
All right. Sounds good. We'll get dinner. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Phil Shelton
so
from
much.
Medallion. Thanks, everybody, for listening today and watching. No recap. Michelle, have a great trip. And
Thank you.
We'll see you when you get back.
Bye.